Kay, I wonder, when you hear Hastings say that these rivals with new services of their own are operating at the margin, should he be more worried than he seems to be?
I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. They have nearly 140 million subscribers direct to consumer around the globe. They have a lot of data on these consumers, and they're way ahead of the competition that is coming into the marketplace with new direct to consumer. We've been saying for the last couple of years, it's going to be a battle for direct to consumer, and I think Netflix is way out in front of the competition. There will be competition for them, no doubt. But I do think that they are way out ahead of Disney, Comcast, other companies that have announced their direct-to-consumer plans. It's a very different marketplace. Take HBO, for example, which has 134 million subscribers around the globe, but they only have 5 million subscribers on HBO Go direct-to-consumer. This is, of course, what AT&T wants to accelerate direct-to-consumer with the purchase of Time Warner. But still, they're very far behind in the marketplace, and it'll take really some time to catch up.
Yeah. Tom, I wonder what you think of this so-called flywheel where we can give you not only more money than just about anybody in town, but promise that, you know, your series, your show is going to get 80 million people viewing it, at least in the early going.
Well, I agree with Kay. I think we're getting too caught up in the weeds on both sides of the bull and bear analyst views here. I think Netflix has won, and I don't think anybody can catch them. And it is a combination of being at 175 million subs probably by the end of this year, going to 200 million by the end of 2020, probably looking at 300 million subs within 4 or 5 years of that. And nobody's going to begin to spend the amount of money on programming, to your point, that they're spending, all wrapped up in a price-value combination that I don't think anybody can touch. I think instead of asking the question, you know, what about the competitors that could be nibbling at them and focusing on a small revenue miss here by Netflix or foreign currency issues, the real issue is what are the constraints on their competitors? And Disney is the one that is pointed to the most as the most logical, big-time, traditional media competitor that could really go at Netflix. But when you look at the constraints on Disney, it gets to be a really hard case that they get anywhere close. First, that they...
I just want to piggyback on that. And Kay, we're talking about Netflix versus the others as if there's only one winner. But all of these media companies have to transform in order to survive. When you look, for instance, at what NBC Universal, our parent, announces that it's doing, it seems very advertising driven, and I'm not sure if protecting the ad model is going to get them the data they are going to need on individual viewers. What's your thought on the strategic positioning there?
Well, I just think that Comcast, NBC Universal, Disney, they all have to develop their direct-to-consumer. And whether or not they do it with advertising is going to be, I think, something that they're going to have to wrestle with themselves because Netflix doesn't. And I remember back when HBO started, the networks did not want to have HBO have any advertising, and they were excluded from advertising to their benefit, actually, because the consumer is paying for Netflix and other direct-to-consumer paying directly. And maybe some of them will develop a model that will be paid directly this amount, pay less amount, and get it with advertising. Obviously, there are some models like that in the marketplace, but I do believe that the consumer mind today is, I pay for this, I love it, I see it without commercials. And so the model that the others have in the marketplace with advertising, I think is going to be challenged.
Tom, what happens to the companies that haven't actually announced or haven't said they're starting to develop a streaming service? I mean, I look at all the uncertainty around CBS and Viacom right now, and there was a Moffett-Nathanson note out just yesterday arguing that a merger there is a foregone conclusion. If you look at Dish, I know they have Sling TV, but if you look at Dish, I mean, it was one of the worst performers in the S&P last year. I don't think anybody's paying very much attention to its streaming service. What about some of these names?
Well, I think they could play in the streaming world. On-demand streaming services is where the action is going to be for viewers. Talk a lot on the network about, are we going to see a downturn in the economy? Are we going to see a recession? I think the cord cutting that will ensue if we do hit hard economic times is going to hugely accelerate. I think that's something that Netflix benefits from dramatically. And, the hard thing here for whether you're Disney or whether you're CBS or, frankly, even if you're Comcast, you're trying to grow a new business while managing the decline of your traditional business. And that's a very hard thing to do, not the least of which it drains resources away from that growth opportunity. And the growth opportunity that Netflix is going after, they have no constraints. They're just going for it. And as a result, they're in a whole different league than everybody else who may be nibbling at them with their own streaming service.
We've seen this, if I may interject here for a second, we've seen this model before be challenged, where you have to protect a legacy system and yet transfer. We did it in the software businesses. It's going on in different sectors of the marketplace. And it is very difficult to do. And it is a difficult challenge for these more traditional distribution through cable. Broadband revenue streams for cable operators, et cetera, like Comcast, that's going to be the predominant revenue stream. It's going to pass their video revenue stream, and this is the world that they're going to live in. So they have to really transfer to a direct-to-consumer, I think, in order to really survive.